Okay, so here's the deal with the grass courts, guys. I'm sitting here in Riverside Park. As you can see, I'm surrounded by grass. This isn't the same kind of grass you're going to get in Wimbledon. This grass is much more unruly. There's weeds everywhere. There's broken branches. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Obviously, this is for a park, not for grass court tennis. The bounces you would get here would make Fognini absolutely pull his hair out, or all the tennis players. But what I can show you is grass is grass. It's a living element. As you can see, there's dead grass. That's the brown stuff right here. And then you have the dirt when the grass actually rips up, and then the green grass. So the three things you're going to see on a grass court is green, and then the brown dead grass as it starts to rip up. And then at Wimbledon, this kind of dirt here, this soil here is mostly silt, and that's why it's real brown. At Wimbledon, you'll see it look more like whitish grayish, and that's because there's a heavy amount of clay in the soil at Wimbledon. Back when I first was really studying grass courts, I actually looked at all the grass courts. All the soils have a different amount of clay and silt. It's all slightly different, and they all use a different type of ryegrass. There's many different strains of ryegrass, and like in Majorca, where it's very warm, you can't use the same strains you'd use in England. And in Birmingham, it's up north more, and different areas. They used to have a tournament in Manchester. Again, it's north, and it's colder, and it's up, and it's different kind of soil too, and it's more rocky some of the areas. So it all depends on all of this, what kind of strains you want to use. But anyways, the guy that's helped me a lot is a guy named Matt from Limagrain. He provides the seating for a lot of the tournaments, Wimbledon being one of them, but many of them across England. And as you can see here, I have a load of emails going back through the decade. And I was using people before Matt, and I still have other sources, but Matt's my best one now. And Matt once again came through, and again, thank you, Matt, if you're actually seeing this video, for all your time and generosity and info and everything you've helped me with. He's really improved my understanding of grass courts to another level. And what I can tell you is that every year, the seeding and the maintenance, everything gets better year by year, just like the technology, like the rackets and everything else. So, you may see things happening, but remember, some of the weather's been really bad lately in England. It's gotten hot and dry, and even this year, it seems like, it was good weather, but believe it or not, it was. And, by the way, the weather matters too, like not only during the tournament, but way back in the winter, like when they're, trying to cultivate these courts and the ground. It matters a lot what kind of winter you have and what kind of spring. I think one winter, and I think it was 2013, it was really damp and with a late frost. And the grass was holding more moisture in it than it normally does. And that was the year everybody was slipping and falling. I think Sharapova was injured. That's the year Stavkowski beat Federer, I think. But the grass was super slippery and quick then. I think Darcis beat Nadal in the first round. So, that was like old school because of that winter they had that caused all that moisture in the grass. Now, the last few years, the warmth and the heat has destroyed a lot of the grass, so they've been working more and more and getting more coverage, more grass coverage, and that means like grass density. So you're looking here at this grass. Look, there's a lot. That's not that dense right there. That's if you were at Wimbledon and you got up close, and of course this is so ragged compared to Wimbledon, but if you were up close to Wimbledon, besides the fact that it's an 8mm cut, it'd be very short and trim and incredibly manicured, no weeds, of course, but you'd have incredible density. It keeps getting more and more dense every year. And this year, Matt told me that it was the most dense, the best sward, what they call it, SWARD, that they've ever had. So now, part of the way that makes it look on TV, because you have more grass, basically, they also do something called overseeding. So the overseeding has produced more grass over the more recent years. So everything they're doing is just making it more like a real grass court, but the effects you're getting are very strange, maybe different than you think sometimes. And the way it looks on TV, I'm finding out, is different. The more grass you have, that means the more grass can die. And I think the TV is picking up a lot of the dead grass and actually making it look worse than it is. I've had this happen now over the last couple of years where it looks to me like it looks really brown on TV, but I'm getting pictures and videos from people live there, and it looks a lot better in real life, it looks like. So, and I've been told that too over and over. I think Chris Fowler even told me that one year. So That was 2 years ago. So, but the issue this year and why the grass courts seem a little slower, well, number one, we have a ball situation. So that's another thing, and I'll do that in another video. But the other issue is that because there is such a high density of grass now, if it's a wet, moist kind of grass, then it can be very fast. And in the future, we might see some of this ryegrass courts playing really fast. But with the heat, it's going to dry up. Like last year, it was a lot of good grass on there, but it dried up pretty fast and got ripped up pretty quick. Actually, it was amazing for the heat. I mean, in the past, it would have ripped up and looked like in 2010, they had the same kind of heat, and it looked like an absolute dirt court. It was like all dirt by the end. I remember Nadal won that year, and when he won the final, he rolled over in the dirt, and he got up. It was all dirt. Even by the net, it was complete dirt. He had dirt all over his shirt. It was like a real clay court. But now with the extra grass, the overseeding, the incredible density, the growing processes, and by the way, the maintenance of it's just amazing. Let me see if I can tell you. I'm going to look at one of the emails right here. I'm checking out. When Matt told me the maintenance this winter now involves the use of artificial lighting on the courts that suffer from low levels of light in the winter, plus the use of air fans that blow around the air in the courts to keep the moisture and humidity down. So again, the grass is very fickle. It's a live thing, so it can't be too cold, too hot, too wet, too dry. So again, this year it was in the best shape it ever was going into the tournament. We had a humid week during qualifying, not too hot, but humid. And then on Saturday, we had a 90-degree temperature day and very dry. And then for the main draw, the first week this past week, it wasn't that hot, but again, it was pretty dry. There were a couple more humid days near the end of the week. It got warmer and more humid. But so there was a bunch of elements. We went from humidity to extreme heat for a day to dry. And I think this has killed the grass more than everybody expected, even the guys the maintenance people and Matt and everybody. But still, Matt walked the courts just a couple days ago and told me they look the best they've ever looked for this time of the week. Now on TV, that doesn't look like it to me, but again, on TV, I think it's looking different. But what will happen is with the weather changes and the climate changes, and you never know what you're going to get. You could get hot weather now in England out of nowhere. You could get it cold, you could get it dry, hot. Whatever's going on, it stresses the grass. Plus, they're letting guys practice on the grass. I'm not sure it's more than it used to be. I think lately it has been more, and I don't know if it was more this year is what I'm saying, but with the practice on the grass, plus there's another element. They have roofs now. Roof on center court. They were building a roof and doing construction on court 1, and that is blocking the sun and the light and trapping humidity and doing things that are also affecting the grass. So again, this is a very difficult situation to try to manage all of these things that are going on, plus the way the guys are playing now, and they're pounding the crap out of it, but that's been going on for a while, but still, so there's a lot going on. So what's happening now is if you have a real thick grass, which is what we have now, very dense, and it's more grass coverage than ever before with a strong type of ryegrass. If it is very green and moist, it will be very fast. But if it's drying out and there's a lot of dead grass in between, which is what we've been having, it can really slow down because the dead grass is dry. It's not moist. It's a dead grass. It's not living anymore. It's not sucking up water. It has no moisture to it. So that grass is sort of what is checking the ball. Now, the ball is a bigger reason for it than the grass. So let me just say that again, these grass courts are great. You use a different type of ball with less felt, it won't be the same thing. And the grass courts will play almost like older grass, to be honest. So but this year in particular, what happened is they actually slowed the ball down again last year. They've been slowing the ball down for 20 years now, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But it went slower last year, but we had hot temperatures, and so the play was fast, even if the slower ball. But the ball was slow enough that we still had a lot of rallies because it was a higher bounce. This year, with the less hot temperatures, it's been not as hot, but there has been some dryness and a unique hot weekend. And all this together, we had some dead grass, but because it's not quite as hot, the slowness of the ball is really coming to the forefront, and the dead grass is really grabbing the ball. The ball's grabbing on the drier dead grass, and as we get more dirt, it's going to do the same, but I think it will go a little faster because the soil is going to harden up. That's the other thing. The clay in a hot temperature will get hardened quick, and we haven't had that. The clay in the soil, I mean, and we haven't had that. So when you start to see more grass rip up, the dead grass come up this week, the second week, you're going to see what looks like a whitish, grayish. And I think one time, I'm not going to even say her name, I don't want to embarrass her, but one of the commentators said it was cement powder or something. It was the most craziest thing I've ever heard from a commentator. There is no cement in the grass courts. That would obviously kill everything. But it's actually the amount of clay that's in the soil that you're seeing that's a little bit white, or actually gray. But anyways, so we'll see a harder soil as the week goes on, but yet the temperatures don't look hot to start the week again, at least starting tomorrow. So if they stay on the cooler side, it's going to continue to be a little bit lower bouncing and a little slower still, but slow and low kind of thing, which is actually really good for Novak. But anyways, so that's basically somewhat of a, I hope that helps everybody. And by the way, there is not a higher cut. It is an 8mm cut. Matt, I had sources tell me last year that, and one of them was just there on the side looking, and another one told me to talk to a tournament official. But that doesn't mean that it's correct. You know, I go through, as you see by the emails, I have a million emails. I deal with a lot of people, and I do a lot of sources, and I have them kind of listed in my top sources down. So I thought maybe there was a higher cut too because it looked so lush. But that was just because I think the way it all worked out and the way it was looking out on TV and all the, but what's happening is there's just such a dense grass now. But Matt had confirmed to me there is not a higher cut. So I heard Rainich saying that there's a higher cut, Wozniacki mentioned it. This is not true. It's 8mm across the board. It's just that the grass is thicker now. So that's what you're seeing. And also, what's interesting too, I've never heard people talk about higher cuts and all this before. So that's very interesting that the players are grabbing onto this a little bit.